something that we discussed yesterday. So I forgot to paste it in WhatsApp chat. So hence today I pasted it. All
Okay.
right. Okay. So the rest of the people who haven't joined, we be able to share the recordings. Should not be a problem. Um, Look at the all these interview questions, right? Anyway, you have a doubt, just ask me in WhatsApp or use this session to ask me. And SRM represents service catalog. Okay. Look at this complete thing, and there will be few things like discovery and orchestration. You don't have to worry about that. Those are like advanced kind of topic, so you don't have to worry on that. Otherwise, wherever you have questions, just ask me, draft it and ask me. And thereafter today we will see how to create clone request and how to how to handle basics of service portal, right? So let us look at clone request. So before jumping on to the topic of clone request, I'll tell you what is clone, right? For example, as I told you, every organization will have a production instance, will have a development test stage. Like they might have more than 3 instances or 2 instances, because you cannot develop something in the same instance, test something in the same instance, and give it for users in the same instance. You need an instance for development. You need to migrate the code to a test instance where end users or testers will validate it, and thereafter, if everything goes well, that will be taken to production. So you in fact have 3 instances. Minimum of any organization has minimum of 3 instances, right? As in the data as in like let us say in development instance, uh, people do not create incidents on development instance, right? Even if they create, it's for testing only or development work. The actual day-to-day data will be available always in production only, right? So people tend to clone one instance with the other. So let us say I take a clone of production and put it in dev. So what happen is dev becomes a Xerox copy of production. Now the question is, what happened to the work that I've done in dev? It will all get vanished unless and until it is already there in production, right? I'll repeat again. So in production, let us say you have 100 business rules, okay? In development, let us say there were 100 business rule, obviously, because development is always a clone of production, right? In addition to that, in the last 1 month, you have been working on a project, and because due to which you created plus 10 more business rules. Now, what people tend to do is this 10 business rules will be captured in the update set, right? So that will be moved to test environment. And after that, if everything goes fine, it will be moved to production. Now, how many do you have in production? In production, you will have 100 plus 10, which is 110 update sets, right? Now, just imagine it has moved from dev to test, but it did not make it to production for some reason. And simultaneously, or after 2 days, you have a clone of production to dev. What will happen is your dev will be completely removed, and uh, it will have the latest version of what you have in production. What you have in production, you have only 100 business rules. Why? Because we did not move the code from test to production or dev to production. So whatever work you have done, it's all gone. For that only, usually developers, what they do is they will always take a backup of their XML update set. Even if it gets cloned, so all your work has been wiped off, right? So what they will do is they will re-import the XMLs of your update sets, right? And I'll show you how to create a clone request. So this clone request is a very routine process of any administration role. Like companies tend to do clone every 2 weeks or every 1 month. Some companies even do every 1 week, but every 1 week is very close time period. So people do every 2 weeks, right? Any question on what is the necessity of clone and the clone overrides, something like that? Any question?
Uh, Means like so as per our knowledge, service knowledge is the cloud. So from where we used to clone the what to say instance
Okay.
like all these features.
Okay. In left navigation, you type clone request. Okay. When you type clone, you will see clone profiles. Here there is only one profile. That one profile is nothing but system profile. You have not created any other profiles. Let us create a new profile. In your company, if you see, you will see that this clone profiles module will have dev 562 dev dev info infosys test infosys stage. For example, let us say your ServiceNow instance belongs to Infosys, so it will say like that, or XYZ company test stage, like that. It will have multiple clone profiles for each of the sub production instances that you have, right? I'll repeat. So in clone profiles table, you're supposed to have like, let's say an organization have 5 instances. They have purchased 5 instances. One could be development, another could be test stage. So uh, it will have that many entries in clone profiles table. Now this is just a PTI, and it is not like you have another sub production instance, nothing like that, right? So the clone profiles are empty. Now what we will do is we will create clone profiles. If you look it in your company instance, you will already have it. Unless and until it is a newly purchased instance, you will already have it. So I'm trying to create a new clone profile. So I'll give Vishnu's instance, and okay, so it says the target instance. Target instance means to which instance do I need to clone to. So this is Vishnu's instance, right? I'll copy. So I just search for Vishnu's instance. I can't find it because in the list of instances list, I don't find it. So I have to make a entry here as well. Instance URL, right? And I will use some credentials which has a proper admin access. So mine itself has an admin access, right? So I'll put trainer password and submit. Authenticating target. Destination does not allow clone request typically used by live. Does not allow clone request typically used by live production instance. Probably that's so these things you're facing because these are personal instances, but in company instances, if you try to create, it will work absolutely fine. Allow clone target, right? So there's a property called allow clone target. In default, it is inactive. Okay, so it says that such that Vishnu's record everything will be overridden, and it will come from my instance. But in order to do that, I have to enable this property. I can't do it because this has been marked as read only. But in company instance, it will work absolutely fine. Okay, so let us say you have those things up here. So what you do is, once that record clone profile is created, right? So you will enable like a amount of data copied from large tables, like the entire data needs to be copied or just last 90 days data. So everything you will mention here. And then once it is saved, so here you go to that clone profile that you have created, and here you say create clone request, right? So you click on create clone request. So it will ask you for date and time. Okay, so here you need to put your instance name and schedule start time, and then upon this completion of this activity, to whom we have to notify that list of people email addresses. Usually you would put your managers and all of these people email addresses, and then whichever you want to enable. These are self-explanatory. If you read it, you can understand. So if you want the last 9 days data or the full data, all of that you can do it. And you could also, some companies kind of schedule it, like clone it every month, like every month like that they do it, but it is not recommended to schedule it, because sometimes you tend to forget, right? Like, okay, I we have a clone now. What will happen if you tend to forget? We will not take backup of our work and we will forget, which will result in wiping off all our work that we have done. It is a lot of time wasted, right? So instead of that, this creating a clone request, it only takes you from 2 to 5 minutes. So people tend to do it manually every month or every 2 weeks, based on their organization's requirement or instructions. So you just submit it, and the one more thing is actually, so if I need to clone like next minute, I cannot do it. So what will happen is it will show up an alert saying that your clone request, when you submit, it will show, but I cannot submit now because it's a mandatory field and I do not have any reference values here. You need to have at least 4 hours. Like for example, right now I'm in IST, so it's 9:30, right? I should at least keep it like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. as my clone start date. Otherwise, it will not work. Minimum of 4 hours in prior, and maximum of, you can even schedule a clone for next year also, should not be a problem. So like that you can do it. So this clone request is completely handled in your own instance. You don't have to go to any other logins or anything. And sometimes there will be requirement that you need to preserve few clones, right? Meaning, I'm saying you that the entire production data gets copied to development data, and whatever is data is available in development, it gets wiped off, right? There will be few requirements. Like for example, in production nobody will have admin roles, right? But in development, like there will be 10 developers who have admin roles. If your entire production data gets copied to development, what will happen? People having the admin roles in development will get wiped off, right? Then how will they be able to log in? Even if one person at least has an admin role, they can give it to other people. But imagine nobody has an admin role in development, and production also did not have, and it gets copied. So it will result in a big mess, right? So this is one example of when you need to do an exception. So in order to do such thing, there is few things called clone preservers, right? Preserve data. So here we will define, there are out of box 88 preservers already there in the system. I'll create one and I'll tell you for this specific requirement of admin role, right? So how do we do that? Um, Preserve, just it's a name that I can give. Preserve um, admin roles users. Table is sys underscore user underscore has role, right? Because admin role and all is stored in that table only. So I'm opening up a system administrator record. You can find that if you scroll down, you'll find a related list. Sys user has role, right? And I'll put role is admin. So what this will do is, it will completely clone, except that it will preserve the data in this user role table, wherein role is admin. Those records alone will be preserved in your target instances. Now this preserver setup, you want this to be mapped to development or test or stage. You will declare it here. Like in edit, if you click on it, will show you company dev, company test, company stage. So in whichever instances you want this functionality preservers to be happening, you will save them. Like right now we will not find anything because we don't have profiles created. But in your company instance, you will have dev, test, stage, like that. So whichever instances you want this to be happening, you will put their names there, right? Any doubts with clone preservers?
No, no.
Okay, next is, give me 1 minute. Yeah, so if there isn't any doubt with clone preservers, I'll take you to exclude tables. Like these are data preservers, right? For example, you have a table, and in that table, you want to clone the complete table, but just to preserve few things. Preserve means what? Like like saving, right? So saving data, as the name suggests, data preserver, like only few
Hello.
data of that table. Yes, Neha.
Do we repeat this preservation wala procedure every time we clone the data?
No,
Or
one time you set it up, job done.
okay,
Single time what you do is creating a clone request is what you do every single time, right? There's a module called request clone. So you will say which profile, like dev profile or which profile, and this will be automatically populated, like your instance URL and time. Just it's a 2 minute job, in fact. This is what you do every month or every week as per your company's requirement. These and all is like one time setup or recurring setup, as in like a new requirement coming, like hey, like we have a table called a grocery shopping table, we want the data to be retrieved, sorry, preserved, like that. If they come up with a new requirement, at that time you will create new entries. Otherwise it is just a one time job. Requesting for clone is a periodical job, like whenever you want to do a clone you have to request. That also can be automated based on clone frequency, but I would not recommend, or any organization is right now not comfortable with scheduling it, because the job itself takes some 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I don't want to schedule it, they feel the takes are high. As in, let us assume that the clone is happening on a Sunday and nobody is available on Saturday or something. Usually every time before the clone happens, before 4 hours they will get an email that hey, we have a clone in 4 hours. But what if somebody does not notices and does not take a backup of the development work that they've done? All data is lost, right? So the stakes are high. So people still are comfortable with manually raising this request. It's because it's just a one time job. This is what is currently being followed in a lot of organizations. You understood, Sneha, the reason why we have data preservers and this functionality and benefits.
yes, yes,
All right. So let us assume there is a requirement wherein you want to do a clone, but not just a data preserver, but entire table itself you want to preserve. For example, let us say you have created a new development work. In that part of the development work, you have two tables, like supermarket and clothing. You have two tables created, okay? That complete table you want to exclude from cloning. If that is a requirement, just you have to make an entry on that specific table. For example, create new clone excludes, give a name for it, like the name is nothing but the table name. For example, custom. Imagine the backend name of the table is custom supermarket. So you have to give it as like this. And again, similar to data preservers, you need to define for which all table this clone exclude should work. So the difference between data preserver is that data preserver is capable of preserving the data that satisfied this filter, whichever records in this table that satisfy the filter, that only will be preserved, right? But clone excludes, its name itself is self-explanatory, right? Exclude the table. Which table? This table, in which all instances, whichever instances listed out here, right? Fine. So this active clones will tell you like what are the clones that we have requested, and it is in schedule and all of that. Clone history will tell you in the past how many clones has happened, at what time it started, what time ended. And clone will take some 4 to 6 hours or sometimes 3 hours. You don't have to log in or do anything. At that time, system will be a little slow. So you're not recommended to do a clone schedule on peak production hours. Like for example, let us say the company's main location is US, so you better do the clone on Indian time zone or complete opposite time zone, so that you know that okay, there's very less people or no people going to log in at that time. Similar to how you do a clone on Monday, do that server maintenance, right? Server upgrade, degrade, upgrade or restart and all, you will do it only in off hours, not in the working hours. Like that clone also, people do it only on Sundays or probably nights. Like that only they will do, because there will be little slowness in the system, and at that time you will not be able to work on development test or stage. In production you will be able to completely work on, it should not be a problem, because the data is getting cloned from production to some other instance, right? So the original will not have a problem. The duplicates where it's creating a clone, there only it will have a problem. And one more thing is, like for example, you have registered a clone for, let us say, 2 in the afternoon. Now, at 1 o'clock, somebody creates an incident in production. That 1 o'clock data will not be copied, because that clone data is a backup of 4 hours prior. Right? I'll repeat. Let us say time is right now 9:30. Okay. As of 9:30, we have 100 incidents in our production. At 10:40 or 11:40, you get it like 200 incidents in your production. At 2 o'clock, you have 400 incidents in your production. In exactly at 2 o'clock only, the clone is happening. So in development, you cannot expect the system to be having 400 incident records. Instead, you can expect it to have only 100 incidents. Why? Because it will take a data backup of 4 hours prior, which is nothing but current time. Right? Because in exactly 4 hours I have scheduled the clone, right? So as per the calculation, 4 hours prior, let us say on September 4th, 1 month from now. Okay, at that time, 10 in the morning, you schedule a clone for September 4th. Now itself you schedule, imagine. So that cloned data will be a backup of morning 6 o'clock, but the actual clone will happen at morning 10 o'clock. But the data that backup is happening, the final data that you will see it in production instances are morning 6 o'clock data. Clear? Right. So you have another thing called cleanup scripts. So what cleanup scripts does is, after the clone has happened, uh, what are things you need to do in production instances, right? You don't want to do them manually, you want the system itself to do. So all these scripts you will write it here. So as I told you, glide records are super important. Once you're clear of your glide records, and the glide as script includes everything, can be any script section. You don't have to worry. You will be able to understand things very easily. Now, um, see, like one important thing that you need to do in production instances is that email sending, right? Email sending will always be disabled in production. Why? If you enable, what will happen? From development instance or test instance, people are going to get actual emails, which is a problem, right? Why would somebody wants to receive an email in Outlook from a production instance or a testing instance, right? So this will always be disabled, either disabled or enabled with a testing email address. Uh, like every company, they might have a testing email address for each of the application. Like Servicenow is one product, right? For this product, they will create a dummy mailbox. So they will enter that mailbox name here. So what will happen is, instead of sending the emails to actual users, like for example David Lou or Able Tutor, instead this testing email address, to this address only it will send. So these are the things that we need to be sure, like, because when you take a clone in production, it will always be enabled with yes, and it will not have any test email address, so that it goes to the genuine people. But in development and test, you don't want that to happen. So what you do is, you need to either disable this as per company's requirement, or else enable this and enter a testing email address, right? So now how do you do this? Like after each clone, you cannot like log in, because sometimes clone happens 3 hours, sometimes it takes 4 hours, 5 hours, right? So you cannot be very sure when it will happen. So what you do is, all your requirement you will put it in uh, clone cleanup scripts. So for example, this scripts enables, it makes a functionality of disabling emails. You have a property called, see, when I hover, it says, right, this is the display name, but the actual backend name of the property is showed in this question mark. In question mark, do you see the property name is glide email smtp active. So as you can see, glide email smtp active. So they're setting the property of this property with the value false. And email read, okay, so email receiving enabled, what they're doing, oh, that also they're disabling. So this property, both the properties are disabling. For example, in your company, if you have requirement that received, you want to mark it true, put it true. Only sending, you want to disable it, mark it false. Like that, it depends. So if you click on clone, type in clone, you'll see clone profiles. As I told you, clone profiles are a list of the sub-production instances that you have in your company. Request clone helps you to request clone. Just you need to enter which to which instance it has to be cloned and what is the time and whom to notify once it is done. Those three data, that's it. And then whatever is the current ongoing clone will be shown here, and the future scheduled ones will be shown here, and this history will show all the past and the present and the future data, everything will show here. And excludes tables, like whichever tables you want to exclude cloning, that all data will be stored here. It is nothing but which are the profiles you want to map it and which tables you want to exclude. Again, preserve data explained, clone cleanup scripts I will explain. Clone targets nothing similar to clone profiles. You target instances. So with this, clone topic is completely done. This is one of the important activities of a admin job role. Sometimes developers also do it, because certain companies, they don't keep separate admin and developer. They keep developers, multiple developers, and developers take care of the administration stuff like this as well. Right? Any questions on clone? Any questions, Vishnu or Sneha?
No, no.
All right. So with that, we will go into we will get into portals. You remember I explained about portals in previous sessions also, but I will explain some more in detail. We will not be able to cover the scripting part of the portals, but the configurations part of the portal will definitely be able to do. And you obviously know this changing, this and all is native instance. Okay, they call this as native interface, and this one they call it as portal interface. Which one? The users of the portals are literally anybody in the company can use this, and primarily people do not have any roles will have access to this by default. Like they cannot log in. If they log in, it will not take them to this page, this native interface. It will not take them. Instead, there's an auto redirection where it will take them to this page only by default, right? Now I have told you how do you change the banner and all of that. We will get into some more in detail. This is a portal, right? So you type portal in left navigation, you'll see what are the tables that is mapped to it. You see announcement, themes, page route maps, pages, all of these data, right? I know to understand portal it's going to take longer time, but I want you to know at least the ABCD of the portal, right? It's not like you know nothing about portal. You need to know at least some basics, just in case if they ask. It's not like you're a you're a very complete in minus. You at least have some ABCD understanding of the portals. That is why I wanted to introduce this, even though we do not have it in the syllabus, right? So these are menu modules. Now next question. Okay, I'll take you here. You have several portal like this. You have SP portal, you have CAB portal like this. I will explain one portal. Same logic applies to several other portals as well. So let us say you have main menu, right? I'm going to remove this up. See, it is already stored with the value called SP header menu. I'm going to remove this and save it. and duplicate this page so that I can show you before and after. This is before, and let me show you the after. What do you see now? This top section is completely gone, right? This all these rectangular menus are completely gone. So this SP header menu is what is capable of showing all these datas. And you have a theme called Lajola. Let me remove this and save it. Now I'll refresh it for you to see what has gone off now. Okay, so what has gone off now? This header, the complete header banner has gone off, right? So that was the theme. Header and footer both would have gone off. So this theme is capable of making up your header and footer. Similarly, when you click on this place, right? When you click on Servicenow, it tells you like where you want to take the page to. So it is right now taking us to a page called index, right? See, this /sp is our portal name, and then a question mark, like it's like a finishing of the query, and then it is page whose backend name is index. So if I click on knowledge, the page name is kb underscore view2. If I click on catalog, the page name is sc underscore home, right? So now how do you access to these pages is left navigation, you have sp page, sp underscore page dot list. So now I see, let me take you to a page called service underscore status. So I will put in page, you have several columns. I'll put id. Id is service underscore status. So you see this service underscore status page, right? Similarly, let me put you to kb underscore view2. So all these table, page data, you will see it here. So what I'm trying to say is that whenever you click here, in native interface, I used to tell you, right? You have to watch the URL. Whatever is the URL, that is the table name. Like that in portal, you have to watch the URL. Whatever is there in the URL after the for the value ID, that is your page name, right? So here I've clicked on one ticket and it tells me that ID is equal to ticket and table is equal to incident and sysid is so and so. So we know that in pages table we have to look for the page ID that says ticket, and whatever is the extra, whatever is that extra after your page ID are all extra table parameters, like which table you need to access to and which record exactly you need to access to and all of that. So I will show you snapshot of this page details. So we went into this page and we can click on as open in designer or open in page editor. These are nothing but it will take you to the same place, but just the way the data is shown will be little different. So I clicked on open in designer, right? So you can see that uh, box like everything is nicely structured. But if I click on open in page editor, data is displayed to you is difficult, like kind of difficult to interpret in the starting stage. Like you will have it like this, so you will get confused, oh what is this, like that and all. So I will first of all show it in designer. These two things, this page and all is for developers only. Like when we try to develop a page, how do we develop the page? Like this is how you develop a page. So you have a lot of containers, right? Let me duplicate this. So in page, in one tab I had opened it in designer and one tab I opened it in page editor. As you see, the page name is service underscore status, right? So it contains lot of components. So it basically contains two containers. This is one container, right? You see a bigger box. This is one container and the next one is this one big container. So you can see one container and the second container. Let us see what the first container has. First container has one breadcrumbs widget. You call these small boxes as widgets. That is where your script will be written. So you have a breadcrumbs widget, you have a type ahead search widget. So as you can see in the container number one, you have one row, right? This is one row, right? One row and two columns. So one row, and which is divided into two columns, and each column has one component. One first column has breadcrumbs, second column has type ahead search. So if you ask me what is a breadcrumb and what is a type ahead search is, you see home status, right? Like breadcrumb, like you can it's like a, a filtered breadcrumb, like which page are you right now, like if you want to go to home, if you click here, it will go to home, like that. And this one is type ahead search, like uh, it's nothing but a global search. So this one is called a breadcrumb and this one is called a type ahead search. So that is what is given here: breadcrumbs, type ahead search, right? Breadcrumbs, type ahead search. Now let us see container number 2. This, I told you, the second container is a very big box. Inside that, how many rows you have? You have one row. This is one row. I don't see any column, right? Because there is no divider in the middle. So it's just one row. And then again, okay. So for the first row is only one column, and the second row is two columns. This on the left and this on the right. Second row. That's all. Now here you see first row, it has only one column. Second row, it has two columns. So second row is fine, but in first row also it says two columns, right? But why did we not see the data? Is possibly because sometimes in reports, you remember I told you that scheduled reports will not send email. We enabled skip if empty. Likewise, they might have created a script, like if there is no planned maintenance records available to display, then don't show that dabba, like show that box empty, like that they might have done. That is why it is not showing in your page designer, right? Any confusion with or a question with the structure hierarchy, like what is what, like okay and all, right? And now this all is like drawing drawing a pattern to position how this place, like row, column. Defining positions is what I have explained you now. Now what is the data it is going to contain is a bigger question. So as I told you, no scripts involved in this row, column. These are all like drag and drops. You just identifying and forming a pattern to position the data. Now the actual scripts are placed in widgets. It's called sp underscore widget. You can see sp underscore widgets, or else you can click on this pencil icon also. So any widget has four components: body, CSS, client, and server side. Server side and client controller. Portal is actually a very huge topic, and we have separate trainings for portal. So, but for you, along with this course, I wanted to explain you few things at least, so that you know which is what and what, where it is available, like that. So this you see the planned maintenance data here, right? In order to bring this one data, they write these many lines of codes. So this one is actually simple only. Like once you understand the logic, the same will be. If you know a basic HTML, in previously it will be helpful. Otherwise, also no problem. And if you don't know portal, also it's absolutely fine, because not companies used to have separate portal developers. So it's not required that you need to necessarily know Angular JS. So the scripting and all is actually Angular JS, and with HTML, which is basics, and some styling. But if you don't know any of these components also, it's absolutely fine, because a lot of companies have separate exclusive developers for portal alone. So this is just one portal is just one component of ServiceNow. So if you don't know that, it doesn't mean that you can't work on it. Like you will be getting requirements 70 to 80% on the native interface only, like what all we have learned till date, right? Notifications, business rules, client scripts, and all of that. This is like similar to designing a interface, like designing a web page. So companies have different developers for exclusively for developing this portal. But I'm telling you, if you take like if there are very small basic queries, you should at least know like what is this, instead of being a minus in that. You should know what is this. That is why I told you, okay, I'll teach you this, what each component is for and all of that. right? Any questions? And this portal, you don't have to develop it fresh, right? The portals is already available. You will get a requirement that, hey, I want to introduce one more dabba in that, or I want to remove this and instead keep this one. You will get small requirements like that. So in order to do that, at least you need to have some basic data, right? That is why I said. And one more thing is, there's a shortcut. You remember I used to tell you that, uh, control alt shift j. In order to bring the JavaScript executor, you have control alt shift j, right? Where you can write your client script. Instead of writing a client script on on this table, you can just write it here, so that it helps you to, um, for debugging or testing, like, it's easy like that. Instead of going to pages table, opening the pages, opening instance and the widget, there's another shortcut. Like, hover on to any of these places and do control right click, right? Control right click. Normal right click, if you do, it will show like this only, but you have to press control and right click. If either way, you use a Mac or a Windows machine, just this control or command and right click. So here you will easily be able to navigate, and like editing container background, all these small things you can do right away here, right? So editing background color of this particular row alone, so all these small things you can do. And widget in editor, it will take you directly to that widget. So this is one shortcut you might want to know. So this is all about portals. And you practice on today's, yesterday's exercise. Six things by tomorrow. Do your best to complete all these six by tomorrow. If everything goes fine tomorrow, August 5, right? We will have integrations. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? August 5 and 6 will be integrations. So with that, our syllabus should be completed, and the next 1 week we will have a time to, we will have sessions, on demand basis, based on if you have any queries with whatever we've learned all these days. So next 1 week it will all be done. You should be, good to go with your job search, and you can contact our Data Force admin team in case you require any help in, joining a job or something. Uh, there are teams to help you with that as well.